Caloric Shark Media.
Merry Christmas. I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Over the holidays, have you gone to Crumble, the cookie place? I found out one of my students actually works in the one right by my home, so that's going to be awkward in there when I go and order a Jimmy Fallon brownie, and she's going to be like, really, dude? I mean, she works there. She'll be like, oh, no, that's a good choice, sir. What's the problem with the Jimmy Fallon brownie? It's got 1,200 calories. It is a holiday peppermint brownie called the limited edition candy cane brownie, a chocolate treat smothered in peppermint, buttercream, and topped with candy cane bits. Foodies have said it is Crumble Cookie's highest calorie item yet. According to the nutritional information, each serving is only 180 calories, as if you're not going to eat the whole brownie. The Crumble people are trying to pretend the brownie has 6 servings per brownie. Come on, dude. No, it has 1, and it's 1,200 calories. Jimmy Fallon declared it was the best brownie he's ever had. Some TikTokers are not convinced that the dessert is worth the inches on your waistline. One content creator said, tell me who in their right mind, and especially an American, is going to be eating this in 6 settings. That's not realistic at all. Another content creator said, nobody needs that many calories. No wonder the U.S. has such a high obesity rate. Let's break down the nutritional information. Okay, the brownie contains 121 grams of sugar and 100 grams of added sugar. That's 202% of the average daily intake. There are also 40 grams of saturated fat, which coincidentally, and I'm wondering if this is actually a coincidence or like there's some reason they did this, that's also 202% of the daily recommended intake. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention recommends that sugar should be less than 10% of daily calories consumed. In a 2,000-calorie diet, that equates to approximately 12 teaspoons of added sugar. Depending on your nutritional needs, the CDC says adults should consume anywhere from 1,600 to 3,000 calories total per day. The Jimmy Fallon Crumble brownie, therefore, could be almost all of someone's daily caloric intake. Professor Darwin Detweiler from Northeastern University told the Daily Mail, without clear labeling, consumers may underestimate the caloric and nutritional content, which is particularly concerning with oversized portions like those Crumble offers. If these cookies were firearms, they would be illegal. Are you going to watch football today? Netflix knows what they're doing. Christmas is totally just going to turn into day we watch football. Now, when you have young kids or you are a young kid, Christmas morning is amazing. You go play with your stuff. But once the kids are grown up, we kind of sit around the tree for 10 minutes and then everybody scatters. So yeah, football on Christmas Day makes sense to me. You go, Netflix. Oh, I'm just not babbling. Bert Kreischer will join Netflix as a tailgate correspondent today. And my comedian of the year, the slightly starting to be overexposed Nate Bargatze, is going to be a special guest. Your lineup today, 1 o'clock, Chiefs, Steelers, 4:30, Ravens, Texans. Beyonce, scheduled to be the halftime performer. AL.com caught up with Jim Brewer. I don't have my Jim Brewer impression. I've been losing my Brewer impression. Part of it is you've heard me talk on and off about how I've had this fuzz in my voice. Now to do Jim, I need to get down a little more raspy. I always reset my half-assed Jim Brewer impression. And back in the day when I worked with him, I did it pretty well, especially capturing the way he spoke and his rhythm. I used to write copy for Jim because I worked with him all the time and I have a good ear for that sort of thing. But I remember the first time I met Jim, we were sitting at a high tabletop at Sirius, and this is what he said and how I always reset it. He was telling about the show, and he goes, it's me, my friend Pete being Pete Corelli, and I tell stories, right? So you have to get down a little bit and a little gravelly, but I haven't been able to do it because I've been having the voice issues. And part of the reason I'm having the voice issues is because a lot of pre-taping for a holiday week. So instead of doing like 1 podcast a day, there have been days I've been doing 4. Because I not only host this, I also host 5 Good News Stories. So I've been blowing out my voice. AL.com asked Brewer who he enjoyed working with on SNL, and he said Tom Hanks was the first star that came on for us. He was a megastar at the time. Like, oh my God, how did we get Tom Hanks? And I just couldn't believe how engaging he was. That really blew my mind. It's really funny because Alec Baldwin, as much as he drives me crazy with the things he says, he was probably one of the most engaging. Very funny. He was incredible. John Goodman, Jim Carrey, he just came in and everything he did hit a home run. Then they asked him about working with Dave Chappelle on the film Half Baked. Jim said, we had a chemistry before that movie started. We were already in the comedy club scene. We had the same manager, hung out a lot in the comedy scene. We both were kind of hot names coming up. And so we already had a major history before Half Baked. We were going to do a TV show together. So the chemistry was easy to do. And I knew that doing that movie, that you're never going to be on a set like this again where everyone gets along and everyone's helping each other out. That just doesn't exist. Uh-oh, Jim better be careful here. They asked him. Taylor Swift will be eligible for a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2031. There's a solid chance she gets in before Iron Maiden. Jim laughed and said, I don't pay attention to who's in the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fames are meant for the people that actually make the real money out of the whole situation. What a Jim Brewer answer. Jim always finds the conspiracy and everything, but yeah, he's probably right. Hall of Fames are for the people that actually make the real money out of the whole situation. So at the end of the day, it's just like the government. Before government, we knew who the doctor was. We knew who the wise people were. We knew who the helpers were. We need to vote on it. You're always going to know where Maiden stands in history. All right, I got my half-assed Jim back there a little bit. Comedian Gary Delaney tells the Lad Bible one of his favorite jokes is his most stolen joke by a mile. He says he originally performed the joke in 2004, and the joke has shown up on countless t-shirts and the pages of joke books. Delaney said, I get stolen from a lot. I've seen comics do sets made up of 100% of my jokes. Nothing you can do about it, but it's annoying. All right, what is the joke? I went to buy a Christmas tree. The guy said, are you going to put it up yourself? And I said, no, I was thinking about the living room. All right, Vulture did their list of the comedians you should know and will know. One of those comedians, Brennan Lee Mulligan. Worst show was at a bar in Williamsburg where the audience's chairs were physically removed mid-show to make room for a bridal party that crashed the bar because they'd been kicked out of their own wedding venue. A bridesmaid wandered on stage, and we called the set shortly thereafter. Biggest financial hurdle you've encountered since becoming a comedian? Probably the biggest one was needing emergency dental surgery for my number 8 incisor, one of the 2 most visible teeth, right in front of your mouth, and only being able to afford it by flying to Costa Rica. Yikes. I highly recommend dental tourism to anyone who's worried about affording both rent and their teeth. The dental clinic I went to did great work and offered a discount on a nearby rainforest zipline excursion. Comedy opinions? The customer's always right. If the audience isn't laughing at you, it's because you're not being funny enough to get a laugh. Bombing on stage and then blaming the audience after the fact for being too sensitive is for chumps and losers. Another one of the comedians is Malik Elisal, whose career would he like to follow? He says, any comedian who's married. A comedian being married with kids is more impressive to me than if they sold out Madison Square Garden. Comedy opinion? I don't like the idea that comedy's unimportant. I think comedy's perfect and comedians are flawed. I feel the same way about religion and religious people. I don't think we should be the go-to for answers on the big issues, but I still believe comedy's a meaningful art form. A comedian friend of mine, Charlie Demers, once told me, comedy is a brick you throw through a window that turns into stained glass. That being said, there are a lot of shows where you feel like you're the equivalent of bowling. No shade to the bowling community. Worst advice he ever gotten was from his dad, who told him to steal Kevin Hart's jokes. A little short today, but that's your comedy news on Christmas. If you're listening on Christmas, thank you for listening on Christmas. And if you're playing catch up after Christmas, thank you for playing catch up after Christmas. I will continue to have daily episodes for you here. See you tomorrow.